Alright, today we're working on the 70 Chevelle with the LT4. So today's objective is to fix the master cylinder, the clutch master cylinder mount. As you, I don't know if you can't, I think you can see. It's missing a bolt, and the bolts that are in there in the bottom, actually it's missing 2 bolts. Looks like it's missing 2 bolts. The 2 on the bottom are not present, and it's just a little bit wonky. So what I'm going to attempt to do is make a bracket to securely mount this, because there's gonna be a lot of cycles to this thing. Obviously it's the clutch slave, so every time you change gears and every time you come to a stop, it's gonna be moving. So I think that's an aluminum plate, I'm not sure, but if it's 0.63 or 100 thousandths or so, it's probably not going to stand up to the cycling that's going to occur. So let me just disassemble everything and see kind of what we're working with. I might just make a panel. I'm not sure. I guess I'll see when I take it apart. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So let's get to it. Okay, so that's how it's sandwiched in the floor. It doesn't look too bad as far as the alignment goes, so that's not too shabby, but just kind of looks like a crappy installation. So let's see if we can get that to fix that. I'll bolt everything and then maybe reinforce it or something. So, all right. This car does have electric power steering, by the way, so there's a lot going on underneath the dash. It's a little bit little busy down there. Okay, so this is what the customer was talking about, and the reason why we're working on the slave cylinder, that's the firewall that we have to fix. So as you can see, it's basically like Swiss cheese. So we got to figure out how to fix that. Okay, this is the plate that I drew up on CAD for the firewall. It has the same mounting geometry as the sandwich plate that the kit came with. So the intent is to put this in the hole and have it be have the same geometry as this sandwich plate, so that you can just basically put it on the outside and have it everything line up perfectly. And then beyond that, when I make this plate, I'm going to make an extension to sandwich. I wouldn't say sandwich. Well, it bolt to the aluminum, so it's fully, because I can't weld steel to aluminum, so I'll weld this to the steel, and then this part that's sticking out, I'll make another plate that'll TIG weld to this, and then it'll kick it out a little further and grab more of the aluminum, but I'll put 2 bolts that go through it. So let's go ahead and cut it out. There we go. So this will get mounted into the firewall. I'll clean it up and clean off the carburization and the mill scale, and then we'll TIG weld it into the firewall. And then on this side of the panel, it's going to meet the aluminum, and then I'm going to take another piece of plate that's a mirror image of this radius and actually overlap it about 20 thousandths, and then that is going to come out to about here, and then I'll have 2 holes there, and that'll actually engage the aluminum on the on that plate that's in the firewall. Okay, so I have a game plan. I'm going to use a body saw to saw out the section that is made of Swiss cheese, and then I'm going to make a new section. So I'm just going to cut out everything in the middle. Okay, now I'll use a follow up with a carbide burr, and I'll square up the hole, get all the gaps out of the way, put a straight edge on it, and then I'll start making the replacement panel. is welded in place. So now I just have to paint it and paint the backside and start reassembling everything. So that plate now is integrated into the firewall. So now it should be really rigid and there should be very minimal deflection. So that's the plate on the backside. See there? So that's cool. Okay, so this is the plate painted and in place. I have the two 5/16 bolts sandwiching it to the aluminum piece, and it's welded. The steel part is welded to the firewall. Okay, so now it's just a matter of assembly. Okay, the next thing we need to do is make some standoff spacers for the slave cylinder. So the firewall is not perfectly flat, and the areas where it's welded are a little bit taller, so I need to just make these standoffs so that it's going to clear everything and it'll sit flush. So I'll do that now. Now I have all the spacers cut. They're all exactly 130 thousandths. So now I can put the slave cylinder back on the firewall. Today we are going to work on the steering shaft here. So it was already assembled. The customer did not like the fact that the universal joint, or I guess you call it U-joint, the U-joint, it was not engaging the splines fully on the shaft. So I went ahead and took the liberty to take everything apart, and what I'm going to do is basically drill a little tiny pilot hole in each location of where the actual set screws make contact, and that's just going to lessen the chances of everything coming loose in the car, which is obviously pretty dangerous. We also finished up the slave cylinder yesterday. You get the spacers on there that I machined. The firewall is reinforced. Everything is super solid. It's like, you know, not any flexibility whatsoever. So that should work really, really well. So yeah, and then beyond that, we're going to work on the clutch. So the clutch came in from McLeod. If you recall from our last video, the flywheel was basically was burnt at one spot, and the mid plate was burnt because the clutch wasn't applying equal force to the pressure plate from the pressure plate. So and the organic clutches were, they weren't super smoked, but those really can't tolerate a lot of local heat. So I think my guess is they probably McLeod replaced them. It was about $750, I think, to get it rebuilt. So we'll be putting that in today as well. Okay, so I have the shaft drilled. The set screws are going to sit here. So you can see that there and here. So the idea is that these screws, the face of them will actually locate off these holes, and there's very less, or the chance, it lessens the chance of this coming loose or sliding back or backing off at all. So just another safety precaution, especially when you're talking about steering. really can't be too safe when it comes to stuff like that. So this one's hollow, so I couldn't go as deep, but it's enough to actually capture the face, that cone of the set screw. So we'll put some Loctite on everything and lock everything down, and then the hardest part we'll have to do will be drilling the shaft coming out of the firewall, because there's only a little stub sticking out about maybe ½ inch, I'd say maybe 3/4 of an inch. So what I'll have to do is grab a right angle drill and see if I can gain some access that way. Alright, I have the lower half assembled. Now I just have to basically mate the other end up with the shaft. So I'm going to pull the stud out, the set screw, and then slide the shaft over the collar over the shaft, and then I can start drilling the shaft. And then for the set screw to set into. Tight. That's it. That job is done. There's no play. Everything's nice and solid. Okay, so now time to put the tranny in. Okay, this is our newly refurbished flywheel from McLeod. Looks like they resurfaced the flywheel, and I'm going to check and see if they actually give us new clutches as well. Alright, I'm going to lift the pressure plate off. Grab these washers. You don't want to lose any of these because your assembly will be unbalanced. Okay, so looks like they resurfaced this area here, and they gave them new clutches, so that's good. So I'm just going to put these in order and flip them over like this, and then I am going to loosen this up. Then pull the pressure plate off, or the intermediate plate. Oh yeah, there's some crud on this one. They're talking about precision equipment or operating conditions. You want to make sure that everything is perfect, is as perfect as it possibly can be. Any debris or even 1/1000ths on this flange can translate to 50 thousandths when you get to the end of the flywheel. Then you wonder why your bearings are wearing out quickly, or the transmission's not shifting smooth, or whatever issues you're having. Let's see here. Go ahead and rotate it. Oh, hold on. Let me actually settle this. Oh, you're not good. Okay. It's like it's about 1 or so. Okay, we're good. It's like it's at about 1 thou, which is good. So last time we did this, the run out was 40 thousandths on the fingers. So we'll see what it is this time. The breaker bar's already on there.
All right, ready?
Yeah. So far we're at like 5. All right, we're about like 8 thousandths. So that's last time I was like 40 something. Now I need to measure the distance from the face of the pressure plate, or yeah, from the face of the pressure plate to the face of the bell housing. And then I can put. I just want to verify make sure it's good. And then I can put the clutch back in or the transmission back in. Call it good. Okay, I have the throwout bearing set to the right height. It needed some adjustments. I had to go in 2 revolutions and then basically relieve the bleed line, compress the bearing because it was a little bit extended, I guess you'd say, and it wasn't fully seated. So now it's fully seated. I measured it, so we're gonna end up with 130 thousandths of play. And because this is a brand new clutch, when they wear, they tend to see the fingers actually come out further. So it should have a lot of miles without any trouble. So now I'm gonna set the pin that sets the height of the throwout bearing. This particular style has threads and it just screws in. So it has a shoulder bolt that actually goes into the housing, or this plate here. So I'm gonna Loctite that, torque it down, and then install a train, put a little bit of grease on this input shaft, and that's it. I just finished the last item, which was adjusting the clutch, the rod. That's all good. I'm going to depress the clutch, see if you can see if the slave cylinder is moving at all, if the firewall is stiff. It should be pretty stiff. Yeah. Okay. Do it again. Yeah, it's good. So I'm going to push the clutch and see if you can spin the back wheels. It's in gear. Yep. Go on now. Yep. Right. It's in gear. The clutch in? Yeah. No. It's not in? Oh. Is it not posi? I don't think it has posi. What? Well, because let me see the other tire. Yeah, it's spinning backwards. Man, I'm complaining. Who do I have to complain to? The Chevelle Society? Yeah. Or what the hell? How do you have all these parts in this car with posi, without a posi? That's hella funny. Like, what the heck? Want to just lift me up real quick? Yeah. And then lift you up and do what? I'll put the just see if you spin the drive shaft. Oh, okay. I just want to sanity check. That's all. So Aaron went underneath the car and spun the drive shaft while I put the clutch in. Everything's good, so everything's as it should be. So that's it. We're done. Nice. That was lower than it was. Yeah. All right. So this project's finished. Now maybe the next thing we'll do is maybe a test drive. Nice. On to the next project.